We are working on GMetrix Excel Expert Practice Exam 3. We're currently on the first project called Mobile Food Trucks. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and configure Excel to save the auto recovery information every 7 minutes. That's going to be on the File options down here at the bottom. We're going to click Save here on the left, and right here under Save Workbooks, I just want to change that from 10 to 7. We'll go ahead and click OK. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go ahead and configure the cell range B11 to F43 with the accounting format Canadian CAD. So we're on the Home tab after we've selected our range. We're going to click the Numbers dialog box here. We'll select Accounting. 2 decimal places is okay, and this is a pretty exhaustive list, but you want to scroll down till you see CAD. There it is. We'll go ahead and click OK. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go ahead and populate the date column over here, rows 11 through 43, with the weekday date series with a step value of 1. So we are on the Home tab, we're in the editing group, and what we want is the fill drop down here, and we're going to click series. Column is correct because that's what we're working on, and we want date, but we want to change from date unit to weekday. And then our step value is 1 already, so we'll go ahead and click OK. And we'll click Mark Completed. Task 4 is a little bit trickier. What we're going to do is we are going to copy a macro from one Excel sheet to another. You're going to be on the Developer tab. If you do not have that open, I would right-click, click Customize Ribbon, check that box, and click OK. But on the Developer tab, we're going to go over here to, actually before we do that, we need to open up the old ledger Excel file before we do anything else. So we'll go ahead and click File, Open, and we're going to go ahead and go to our GMetrix Templates folder, and we want to select Old Ledger. Now we want to go to the Developer tab, and in the Code group, we want to click Visual Basic, and then we have 2 files open here on the left-hand side, and what we want to be looking at is the VBA project Old Ledger. And underneath here, you have this module 1, and that's the macro that we're actually going to apply and copy. So we're going to click this and drag it up to the first one, which is VBA Project Daily Ledger. And notice it opened up and it added that module. So now that is there in both of them. What we want to do here is click Close and Return to Microsoft Excel. We want to close out of our old Ledger Excel file. And now we can go ahead and run this macro. So it tells us that we want to apply it to B44 to F44. So we'll go ahead and select that range. And over here on the top, we're still on the Developer tab. We can click Macros and click Run. And we'll click Mark Completed. Task 5 asks us to go ahead and encrypt this workbook with the password. So we'll go ahead and click File, Protect Workbook, Encrypt with Password, and we'll go ahead and type that in. All right, we can go out of the Backstage view. We'll click Mark Completed. And Task 6 asks us to go ahead and save this workbook in our GMetrix Templates folder, and we're going to do it as a macro enable template. Make sure you pay attention to how you save the file, because when you go here and you're in your GMetrix, here we're going to change this. You might accidentally select this right here, but what we want is the template. So we'll go ahead and select that, and we'll type in Ledger. Yes, I've already done it, so we'll click Mark Completed, and we'll click Grade. We are working on GMetrix Excel Expert Practice Exam 2. We're currently on the second project called Microsoft Certifications. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and go to the Salaries tab. And what it wants us to do is to apply a conditional formatting rule to the salary column, and it gives us different flags that needs to be displayed based upon the dollar amount. And it says that this formatting should be applied to new and existing rows in the column. So what we'll do is go ahead and select the entire C column. We're on the Home tab. We're in the Styles group, and we're clicking Conditional Formatting. What we'll do is we'll click a brand new rule, and what we want to do is click Icon Sets here, and scroll up to the flags here. In this section right here, it looks good, but we want to change the type to number, and we can go ahead and begin keying in our values. So the first one is that we want a green flag for anything greater than 90,000. So right here, we'll type in 90,000. We'll tab through, and it says that we want a yellow flag between 90 and 70,000. So here is where we type in the 70,000. And we don't need to key in anything for less than. It gives us that third flag. So anything less than that will come up with a red flag. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go ahead and delete the macro named header color. So you can access the macros on the View or the Developer tab. We're going to go to View for this one. We'll go to the macros over here. We'll click View Macros. With that selected, we'll go ahead and click Delete, and we'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go to the MCT fees. It wants us to go ahead and select B4 to E4. And what it wants us to do is to apply the Euro number formatting. So we'll go ahead and click here on the Home tab. We're in the Numbers group, and we already have accounting selected, and all we need to do is just find the Euro. We'll go ahead and select this top Euro. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll click Mark Completed. Task 4 asks us to go ahead and configure the default body font size to 12. The keyword here is configure. So we'll go to the File, Options, and it's on the General tab here. And all we want to do when creating new workbooks, click from 11 to 12. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll click Mark Completed. And Task 5 has us go to the 2016 Office Masters. And what it wants us to do is to create a formula that evaluates whether the student has met the qualifications to get the master certificate. So this is a nested statement. There's actually 3 parts to this. So the first thing we're going to do, and there's multiple ways to do this step, but what we're going to do is look for, did they meet the criteria of having Access or Outlook first? And what we'll do is we'll create an OR statement. So we can click that one and click OK. And the OR statement needs to look like this because we're just looking for Access or Outlook. So the logic 1 needs to read C3 equals, and we need to put quotation, capital X. And it'll tell us if that's true or false. The second logic is to look for Outlook, which is F3 equals X. And it just needs to be either or. So we'll go ahead and click OK. What we want to do is cut that formula up here in the top from the OR to the end of the parentheses. And what we want to do is click Insert Function. And this time we want to do an AND statement. We'll click OK. Because what they need to do is have the Excel Expert, the Word Expert, and then the PowerPoint certification, and then one of the Access or Outlook. So the first thing we need to find out is, do they have Excel Expert? And that would be E3 equals, in quotation, the capital X. And then we need to find out, do they have Excel Expert, which is I. Or you could do G if you wanted to do PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and do G first. G3 equals X in quotations. And then we'll go ahead and do I3 equals X. And then logic 4 is where we paste our OR statement that we cut. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And now we need to go ahead and cut that formula. And this time we're going to go ahead and insert an if statement. Go ahead and paste that argument there at the top. And if it's true, we want to type in that they are qualified. And if not, we just want to put nothing. So we'll put 2 quotation marks with nothing in between. And we'll click OK. I realize I misspelled qualified, so I'll just go ahead and enter that. There we go, that fixes that. We'll click Mark Completed. We are working on GMetrix Excel Expert Practice Exam 3. We're currently on the third project called Grocery Store. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and on the Week 1 Specials worksheet in D10, we're going to go ahead and insert a formula that looks at multiple criteria to return the true or false value. And it does not want us to use the if function. It's very clear on that. So what we want is the or function nested with the and statement. So we'll go ahead and insert our function. We have our cursor in D10. We're going to click or and click OK. Our logic 1 is going to be and open parentheses to start our argument. And the first criteria is bread, which is C5. Is that greater than 100? We'll do comma to start a new part of this. Is D5 greater than 100, which is the milk? And then finally, is E5 greater than 100? We'll close our parentheses to end that argument. It says false, but we have another criteria we need to enter. And that criteria is are the apples and bananas more than 100? So apples is, we'll go ahead and type in and open our parentheses for apples, G5 greater than 100, comma to separate that and add a new part of this and statement. And bananas is I5, is that greater than 100? Close our parentheses and we'll go ahead and click OK. And it goes ahead and says that that is true. We'll go ahead and click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to stay on this Week 1 Specials. And what we're going to do is do the HLOOKUP function to determine the sales price for any of the items from this drop down. So if it changes, it'll look up in the list. So what we want to do is put our cursor here in in C3, and we're going to go ahead and insert the HLOOKUP function. We'll go ahead and click OK. And our lookup value is going to be C2. Our table array is going to be C4 to K6, which K6 is the cucumber, so it's everything in that list. The row index number is going to be 3. It's the third row. And we want an exact match. So we'll go ahead and click false here in the range lookup, and we'll click OK. And now if we change the items here, it will change as well. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go ahead and consolidate the average prices from the Week 1 Specials 2 and 3 onto the Weekly Specials summary. And so on this, we're going to go ahead and select our range here. And we're going to go ahead and go to Data, Consolidate. Up here we want Average. And we're going to go ahead and click this box right here. We're going to go to the Week 1 Specials, and we want to go ahead and select this price range. And we'll click Add here. On this, we want to go to the Week 2. And notice it went ahead and populated that for us. We can click Add. Same for 3. Click Add. And now what we want to do is, well, let's go back. We have Week 1, Week 2, Week 3 specials for all of that. It's the average function. We're going to click Create Links to Source Data, and we're going to go ahead and click OK. And we'll click Mark Completed. Task 4 asks us to go to the Manager Salaries tab, and we already have our cursor in H8, but it wants us to go ahead and go to the Formulas tab at the top and look at the trace precedence, which points us to how it got to the conclusion that it did. And what it wants us to do is to add the red text color to this cell right here, Total Sales. So we'll put our cursor there in Total Sales. And on the Home tab, we're going to go ahead and click the font color drop down here and click red. We'll click Mark Completed. And Task 5 asks us to look at this empty cell here for commissions. And we're going back to the formulas here. We're going to use the trace precedence to figure out why is that cell blank. And it points us to the total sales. And then when we look at the other part of the formula, we notice that it's pointing to an empty cell. So what we want to do is just change B18 here to B13. And we'll click Enter. And it goes ahead and it fixes that for us. We'll go ahead and click Mark Completed. We are working on GMetrix Excel Expert Practice Exam 2. We're currently on the fourth project called Ice Cream Shop. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and stay on the flavor cost worksheet. And what we want to do is go to the H28 cell, and we're going to go ahead and insert a formula that looks at two criterias and calculates the total profit of that. So what we want is the sum if formula here. Sum ifs with an S. And what we want to arrange to be is this right here, H4 to H26. Our first criteria is the cost. So let's go ahead and look at that. So we'll go ahead and select that range, the cost. And the criteria is it greater than or equal to 2? Now, if you're not careful, you might miss it. It's cost $2 or more. So we also want to include that $2 there. The second criteria range is going to be the column called sales. So we'll go ahead and select that. And our criteria for that is it going to be anything less than 200 quarts. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And we'll click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go ahead and look at B4 on the same sheet. And what we want to do for this is we're actually going to do a VLOOKUP in this cell. And what it's looking for is this code, and it'll display the flavor based upon if we change that number. So let's go ahead and do the insert function. We'll do a VLOOKUP. I'll click OK. Our lookup is going to be A4 all the way down to H26. I'm sorry, I lied to you, I jumped. Our lookup value is going to be A30. Our table array is going to be A3 to H26. Our column index number is going to be 2 because we're looking at the B column for the name. And what we want to type in here is false. So we'll click OK. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go ahead and on the flavors cost worksheet, which was already there, to name the flavors cost per quart table, which is this whole table, and it wants us to call it flavor cost. So with our cursor here in the table, we get the special table tools design tab here at the top, and for our table name, we just want to type in flavor cost, and I'm just right over here. We'll go ahead and click enter, and that'll set the name for that table. Task 4 asks us to go ahead and save this chart right here as a template in our GMetrix folder. So we're going to go ahead and save. I right-clicked on the chart. We'll click Save as Template, and we'll go ahead to go to our Documents, GMetrix, and this is going to be Flavor Chart, one word, capital F and capital C. We'll click Save. We'll click Mark Completed. And task 5 asks us to go to the Analysis tab over here, and it wants us to show the value row. So when we put our cursor here in this table, we can right-click and click Pivot Table Options. We want to click the Display tab here at the top, and what we want to do is check this box that says Show the Values row. We'll click OK. We'll click Mark Completed. We are working on GMetrix Excel Expert Practice Exam number 2, currently on the 5th project called Computer Retail Store. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and go to the Computer Sales worksheet, which we're on, and we're going to add to our chart a linear trend line. So let's go ahead and select our chart. We got the little plus arrow here, and what we want to do is click Trend Line, and we want to click Linear, and it tells us that we want to do it for the notebook sales. We'll go ahead and click OK. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go to the Pivot Table and Chart worksheet, and what we're going to do is add a slicer to the pivot table. So we're going to go to the Analyze tab here, at the top, and we have that because we clicked in this chart. We're going to click Insert Slicer, and the only thing we want is Category. Click OK. It tells us to go ahead and apply the slicer style dark 4. So we'll go ahead and click the drop down here, and this is the slicer style dark 4, and it tells us to position that underneath this pivot table. So we'll click mark completed. Task 3 asks us to stay on this worksheet, and we're going to group the category below the store location. So we're going to click inside this chart to get the fields here. What I'm going to do is undock, I think it's this one. We're going to undock this to kind of get a better view of this. We're going to do a few things over here. And so it tells us that we want to group the category below each store location. So what we want to do is actually just click and drag our store location and put it above the categories. If you look closely, you can see a green line. If we let go, it puts those here underneath each store. So we'll click mark completed. Task 5 asks us to go ahead and hide all fields. And I'm realizing that the help button is, there we go, hiding the question. Hide all the field buttons on the pivot chart. There are a couple ways to do this. In here, if you click any of these category drop-down boxes, you can click, let me see here. It doesn't want to show, so that's because I don't have the chart selected. Let's select the chart, there we go. And when I click this, I can click, if I click the drop down here, hide all field buttons on chart, and it will disappear. You can't really see a lot of what's going on, so I'll go ahead and make it reappear for you. And we also have that option from here on the Analyze tab, hide all. We'll click Mark Completed for that. And Task 5 asks us to go ahead and apply the Style 12 to this pivot chart. So we'll go ahead and redock that. And all we're going to do is go to the Design tab here at the top with this table selected, and we want to select the Style 12. We'll click Mark Completed.